So today we're going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 39 of the series, and in the last episode, we saw quite a few things happening. Most notably though, we saw a lot of nuclear bombs be made. We saw the first nuclear bomb be detonated in war, which was a huge event for the world. We saw China make its first nuclear bomb. Oh yeah, and most notably, we saw a huge proxy war take place over here in Mexico with a terrorist group getting its sovereignty. We saw the end of the Mexican country, and now we see a lot of tension over here with both China, the old empire, and Russia having their allies on each other's borders. In this episode, we're going to be seeing a lot more escalation. We're going to be looking at some other continents for once, and a lot more. So if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. And let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. Alright, so starting off and kind of taking a step back from all these hostile continents, we're going to be heading down to peaceful old South America, where we have a country actually splitting into two. The yellow country, born of Lime Team descendants. It's definitely done nothing, I can say that much. But politically, it isn't doing too hot right now, as is with a lot of countries in this series for some reason. But basically, they have a movement within to separate the North from the South. Now, why do they want to separate the North from the South? Because of different needs. You know, up here, the North has different needs than the South, and the government is not doing a good job at just, satisfying both of the northern and southern regions' needs. This is something that can happen when you have kind of like a dysfunctional slash a government that was kind of set up poorly. This country took a lot of structure in their government from the Lime Team, and as we know, the Lime Team doesn't exist anymore, so yeah, obviously that's not good structure. But instead of trying to fix the problem, the government will agree to peacefully split. This country is huge. It was never very successful because of just, once again, the needs of both the North and the South being too different. So yeah, let's take a look at how exactly they split. And this is a peaceful split, by the way. This is not like a warlike split. Both sides agree to this. The president, or the, I guess the leaders of this country, they're like, yo, we're good with this. All right, and this is what the split looks like. So like I said, just right down the middle, the North and the South separate peacefully. But you might notice that this capital city is still in part of the red team. That's because the red team is actually the yellow team here. The government kind of... Okay, so when the government split, the southern country kind of kept the name of the country, and then this northern country is kind of considered like the new one, but it was a peaceful split. These guys just kept the same name, and they also keep the same capital, so that's why it's kind of like looking like this. Anyway, we're actually gonna go ahead and just head straight up north over here to the purple and dark blue countries, because these guys are also going to be doing something. But instead of splitting, we have the exact opposite, because the dark blue country will be joining up with the purple country due to, well, look where they're located, the Amazon rainforest. They're very impoverished. They can't function because they don't have any coastal area. So these guys are just going to go ahead and join up with another country. And they had a choice between the Peruvian one and the Brazilian one, but they ended up choosing the Brazilian one. And that was probably the smart thing to do because these guys have been here for a while. Now you might be wondering, why am I making it blue? Because the blue looks better than the purple on the map. Let me zoom out real quick. Yeah, that looks better than purple. So we're going to be keeping this thing dark blue, even though that the government is still the purple team. I do this sometimes when I don't like the color meshing, like another purple country here would just look kind of weird. I think we need a darker color in South America, so we're here with this. Remember though, it's the dark purple team that's been here for a while, not the blue team that is ruling. And by the way, I'm leaving tomorrow morning, Monday morning. My plans kind of changed. I ended up staying here an extra day at home, and I had to record 4 videos today, which is Sunday. So yeah, I'm gonna record 2 right now, being this one and Wednesday's video, and then I'm going to go out and do stuff with my friends and stuff. And then I'm gonna come back and do the last 2 What If Civilization Started Over videos. I didn't get to record any videos last night, which was Saturday night for me, because I was tired. I finally caught up on sleep. But yeah, you guys are here for Civilization. Let's go ahead and get back to that. But yeah, you guys are here for Civilization, so let's get back to that. You guys don't care about what happened like almost a month ago when you're seeing this, right? All right, now we get back to the fun Cold War stuff. We took a little bit of a vacation in South America. Nothing eventful happened here, but still it's nice to get away from the impending doom that is the Cold War. But you might have noticed that I have the nuclear bombs layer on right now. You might be wondering, why am I doing that? Usually all I have is the capitals layer on. This one, I can show capital cities. You also might notice that I have the alliance layer on. Well, that's because both nukes and alliances are super important right now, because guess who just discovered that there are nuclear bombs stationed in Norway? Russia did. The old empire has 3 nuclear bombs on bomber planes ready to deploy whenever, stationed in Norway. And Norway is right next to Russian territory. Now, I mean, of course, the old empire is right next to Russian territory. They border each other, but Norway, strategically, that can be a lot bigger for them, because if they were to try to take out all the old empire's nuclear bombs over here, there's 3 more waiting for them in Norway. So that's something they have to game plan for. And this isn't like the Cuban Missile Crisis in the sense that they can be launched. Remember, we're not exactly there yet in terms of what you can do with nuclear bombs. They're still being deployed from planes, but trust me, there is definitely technology being developed right now that allows you to shoot them out of missiles. So Russia discovers the 3 nukes in Norway, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And the whole world is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Russia sends threats to the old empire, they send threats to Norway, and they're like, you guys are escalating this way too much, you don't have to do that. You know, we don't have nukes in other territory, right? So why are you putting nukes in other territory? And the old empire is like, because we can. Norway is one of our closest allies. We only have nukes in Norway, and they're for defensive purposes only. They're not going to be used offensively, so you can calm down a little bit, and Russia is not having any of it. They're flipping out. Russia starts to mass produce nuclear weapons. Remember, these guys, you know, they've, you know, started to ramp up production of nukes. Obviously, you know, we're at 13 nukes in the old empire, we're at 9 in Russia, and the last episode was a lot less than that. But Russia starts to rapidly arm up on nuclear bombs, and when your enemy starts to do it, you have to do it too. So now the old empire starts to ramp up their nuclear bomb production, and we're going to like start getting into like the 20s and 30s very soon. But remember, we're in a tripolar system. China is also going to start to ramp up their nuclear bomb production. Right now, they only have 1, and they are also the newest nuclear power in the world. But once you have 1 bomb, it's only a matter of time until you have hundreds of thousands of them. Not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of them. And the world is holding its breath once again because the nuclear powers are starting to rapidly produce. The brown team's like, hey, we just had these for protection. We're not going to, you know, do what they're doing. So the brown team's not going to start rapidly production because they're not enemies. Well, they're not like close with them, or they're not like neutral. They have a slight dislike towards the square team and the Russians, but they're not enemies, so they're not going to start ramping up their nuclear bombs. They might produce a few more just because, but I don't think they're going to start getting into like the 10s and the 20s. These guys, though, they're going to go ham. So not much happens for a little bit because these countries are so focused on making bombs, but we head down to South Africa now, where this country is going to also fracture. A lot of fracturing and unifying happening in this video, but that's kind of the effect of decolonization. When you have these foreign powers who come into a continent, mess everything up, and then leave very sloppily, this is what happens. So this country is kind of an interesting one, actually, because remember, when a lot of these powers, they decolonized, they left big chunks of land. Like the brown team left their entire North American colony under 1, and we saw how that ended up, like very bad. It led to a proxy war. This country was left alone. It actually was pretty successful for a little bit. You know, they were able to govern themselves very well, and I do believe this was the brown team's colony, but they were able to govern well, and they didn't face any threat of fracture like all of their other former colony buddies, colonized peoples did. That has changed though. With the development of whatever's happening up here, different groups within are having different opinions, and those different opinions have gone from an international stage to a national stage. So all of their worries and differing opinions internationally has kind of come back to hit them nationally, and they now have domestic issues which were not talked about or even a problem before. And just like that, there's an independence movement here and there, and eventually the country is like, all right, well, we were able to hold it together for a very long time, but I think it's time that we split ways. This was always my plan with this country. This isn't me just trying to make up stuff. But I think now's the time. I think they've been around for a little too long. On my timeline. For you guys' timeline, it might be different. Let's see how exactly the government wants to split up, because there's no provinces down here. That's my fault, though. That has nothing to do with the country. Alright, so first of all, there is a large movement in the south that wants to join up with the light blue country down here. This country is actually pretty rich from all of the trade that happened going around Africa. Of course, now there's more than likely a Suez Canal that the old empire constructed, so instead of having to go around Africa, you can just go through there to get to Asia. So they used to be very rich, and I'd imagine that now that the Suez Canal is here, they are experiencing a lot less richness, but that doesn't change the fact that historically they had a lot of money, and I'm sure they've found ways to kind of maintain that status. So it's a strong country, you know, they have pretty average military, pretty good economy. It's a place you want to be, a lot better than this place. So a lot of the surrounding areas around it want to join. And that's exactly what the government grants them, because we don't want to fight a war, and we definitely don't want to get these guys involved because they would beat us in a war and would probably take more land than we're about to give them. Alright, so in this little treaty here, this is what the land exchange looks like. The light blue team gets this much land, and they will throw a little bit of money at the central government over here. But at the end of the day, both sides are happy. We get rid of the people with unrest, and we got some money for it. So nice. All right, so now what else do we have to divide up? Here's this little cluster of provinces down here. They want their independence, so they shall get it. We have a yellow group here. They want their independence. They will get it. A little bit of orange over here. And so far, the breakup is going very smoothly and exactly as planned. The yellow team over here will get some land. And then we finally have a big one. The dark blue country here in the center gets its independence. And from here, the government is like, okay, we've given up a lot of land here. And a lot of it is near the borders of all these other countries. So obviously, we're not doing a good enough job. How about instead of just giving all these little regional provinces their independence, we just split into two? It allows us to watch closely over the provinces that we have within our borders. And it allows the other country, which we'll split with, to do the exact same thing. So let's just do that and see if it works. And they will split into two countries, something like this. So now the kind of, what is this, peach, beige, they have gone ahead and they've split up their territory successfully. Everyone at the end of the day is happy, and they've split into two, and they will now just kind of chill out for a little bit and focus on themselves. Nothing wrong with that. As for these other countries and their capital cities, the pink one will make theirs over here, the dark blue one right here. This orange one only has one major city, so that shall be their capital. Same with the gold team, and then the green team will make this one their capital. Cool, new countries. I'm sure they won't get taken advantage of by the international community, but we'll see if that actually happens later on. For now, we have to head back up north, and that's because Russia has just recruited a new ally. The West African country joins in on the Cross Alliance, and this is huge because they have their first big player outside of themselves. You know, the Central Asian countries, they're nice to have and all, but they're not very strong. Russia was kind of like a lone wolf. They then added Texas, which is, you know, they're slightly stronger than those Central Asian countries, but they're in the middle of a rebuild right now, and they have terrorists on their borders, so I'm not too sure how useful they would be. But now we have West Africa. Now, don't get me wrong, West Africa is also going through a rebuild, but they have a lot of influence, and they're also on a way better track than Texas is currently. They're more historic, they have a lot more population, and their economy is on the rise following the end of, the split with the actual African Union, or the Mediterranean African Union. I gotta remember, these guys have new names now. Okay, cool. The old empire isn't happy about that. They're like, yo, we didn't add any new allies. Why did you add a new ally? And Russia's like, well, we don't have to get your permission to add a new ally, first of all, so back up. And second of all, there's no rules, once again, so what are you even saying? The old empire's like, I bet. We'll check up and see what they do later on. But then they go over to the Mediterranean African country, and they're like, yo, do you want to join the Square Team Alliance? And they are like, no. We're good. They're a little bit scarred. That little civil war that they had obviously did a lot of damage to the world. It ended up, you know, making the Cold War a lot more serious, and they lost. That's big. So they don't want to get dragged back into any international affairs. They are actually praised by the West African country for this. They're like, yo, that's good. Good job, you. I don't want to have to fight you anyway because we would have won, and I wouldn't want to see you cry. Except they probably would, because I think they might still be a little salty about that little civil war, even though they won. But Russia's main justification for this, even though, once again, they don't really need a justification, is that the old empire put nukes in Norway. So they're like, yo, if you're going to do that, then we're going to get these guys on our team, because why do you have nukes in Norway again? And the old empire's like, defense. The Norwegian government, by the way, is completely silent about this. They haven't said anything. Like, they don't either claim or deny that there are nukes there. They're just kind of looking at the old empire like, good luck. But I want to go ahead and reiterate how serious that the nukes in Norway are. Russia is still furious about this. There has been no cooldown at all. In fact, it's still rising, and Russia has now just put out a public statement saying that they are going to retaliate to the nukes in Norway. What does retaliate mean? The old empire is like, well, you're gonna do what? China's like, you're gonna do what? India's like, you're gonna do what? The whole world is like, you're gonna what? Russia doubles down and said, we're going to retaliate to your nukes in Norway. Does that mean nuclear war? Does that mean World War III? What does that mean? The old empire will respond to Russia saying that they are ready and capable for direct conventional conflict with Russia. Tensions? Up. War? This close. The whole world is sounding the red alarm like that right now, like, whoa, it's about to go down. We need to hunker down. There's about to be a nuclear exchange between the old empire and Russia. Everyone's flipping out. China's like, whoa. They call for de-escalation and reiterate to both countries, both the old empire and Russia, like, hey, if you guys go to nuclear war, you know that like that can low-key end the world. And they both kind of look at China in unison like, get out. Eventually, troops are moved to the border between Russia and the old empire, and there is a standoff along this stretch of land. Troops aim guns at each other, tanks roll up, you know, Air Force on standby, Navy. I'm not too sure what's happening in the Black Sea, but I don't think Russia's doing anything because the old empire owns this thing. But everyone is ready. The militaries are waiting for an order from the presidents. And once again, the whole world is sounding the red alarm like now, like it's going to go down. We need to hunker down. You know, these other allies, they start getting ready. China doesn't really get ready because they aren't directly involved in this little escalation. But, you know, like the Iberian team, the West African team, Norway, everyone in the cross and square teams gets ready. India will make a statement. And once again, India is a very neutral country. So this is kind of surprising to everybody. But they're like, stop, slow down, stop. You know, we don't care that you hate each other, but we care about our people and we care about the people of the world. So how about we don't nuke each other into nothingness? The troop standoff lasts for about a week, but nothing ever comes of it. And eventually, both sides back down. They leave the border. They don't leave the border, but they back up a whole bunch. They're not standing across from each other, you know, ARs pointed. They're a few miles back. Well, maybe not a few miles, but like a mile back now. How about that? And the tensions start to cool down again, although there is no official government statement from either country talking about the other. And time will begin to move again. The world came this close to nuclear war, this close to World War III. But it never happened. In the next couple of weeks, we move over to Italy, where the purple team invades the lime team. Now the purple team, it's a very interesting one. I've talked about rogue countries before, and I said there really aren't any in the world, and there aren't, but the purple team is about as close to a rogue-like nation you can get. These guys have a claim over the entire Mediterranean Sea because, you know, they once had that in ancient times. The whole world is kind of looking at them like, bro, just let it go. They don't care though. They're determined to get their land back, and the lime team has some of it, so they will invade them. Now this lime Italian team here is a victim of World War II. Well, they're a perpetrator in World War II as well, but they were once in a union with this country here, known as the Italian Union, and that has since not gone well because they lost World War II, and it was forced to break apart. Since then, they've struggled to get back on track economically, especially compared to their former union member. You know, I just noticed this right here. This purple is probably from like episode 12. Like you'll notice that there's these little spots around everywhere of like ancient countries that are no longer there. It even goes over here. Like I bet if I go over here to Iran, you can see like lime. Yep, you can see lime stuff. There's a lime island right here. You might even be able to see like some red over here. No, actually it looks like green. Oh, there's red right there. But like I said, you know, this program isn't too amazing at like catching these little tiny little pixels around the black lines. Like we can see the blue team here. That doesn't mean they're actually there. It's just a mapping error. But yeah, back over here, the purple team is way stronger than the lime team, and eventually the lime team will just straight up surrender over to them, even without losing their capital. That's how like down bad they were. So let's take a look at what they do in this peace treaty. And unfortunately for the lime team, it's not a pretty one. The purple team will take this northern land, this central land, and this southern land. And as you'll see, the lime team is split into two, with them being in Rome, and then Corsica, and then them being up here near Switzerland. The purple team doesn't care though. They have ambitions, and their ambitions are to, once again, take back the Mediterranean Sea. But the lime team now being fractured is, they're going to have to let this land go. But this land, it's not strong enough to really live on its own. It has no major city in it. This is in the blue team, by the way. It's like really close, but it's in the blue team. But no major cities. A whole bunch of mountains. So the lime team will be like, hey, you guys take it. Yeah. And you might realize that this is sort of a violation of the Treaty of World War II. They weren't allowed to unionize again. And even though this isn't unionizing, it still kind of is. So the old empire is going to be like, yo, you guys just broke the peace treaty, so we're going to have to retaliate unless you pay us a lot of money. So the lime team is forced into paying reparations for breaking the peace deal to the square team, which, you know, is the old empire. It's Norway, Iberia, and now America. Russia doesn't get that because they're not in the square team alliance anymore. The peace deal was very specific. It says you don't pay reparations to the old empire or Russia, you pay reparations to the square team. So Russia's a little mad about that. They're like, yo, we should get some money too. And the old empire's like, tensions are going to kind of start to rise again over this. And the whole world is like, bro, really? It's not that serious. But the lime team's paying reparations over to the old empire. Eventually, this is going to straight up bankrupt their economy, and they're going to full on collapse. Dang, that's tough. So following the collapse of the lime team, the old empire is actually going to go ahead and sit down with the purple team and divide it up between them two, which was a very nice thing of the old empire to do. They didn't have to do that, but the old empire will take these two southern provinces right here, and the purple team will get everything else. So on a map, it looks something like this. Now what about Corsica? Corsica, there was no provision here. The old empire, although they could use it, they don't necessarily want it. So even though the government of the lime team is gone, they kind of still reside over here in Corsica, but eventually the blue team will quote unquote invade Corsica and take it. The old empire is kind of suspicious about it because they don't kill anybody, and they're like, did you just unionize again? But no, they didn't. So it's whatever, you know, we'll let that one slide. It's just Corsica. Now we head back up over here to this region. This region has been pretty hot recently. Oh, Russia's invading Sweden. Is this what they meant by retaliation? After making a naval landing and eventually Sweden is going to fall over to Russia, they will be annexed by Russia, and now all of a sudden Norway has a new border with one of their top enemies. And how is Norway going to respond to Russian troops on their border? Remember what they have. Norway says it will retaliate to this, and we're going to end the episode here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Episode 40 is up next. It's crazy that we've, you know, made it to 40 episodes almost. You know, the next episode is 40, but it's crazy that we've gotten that far because I didn't think this series was going to last this long. I'm sure most of you didn't think it would last this long, but here we are. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to show some support, leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment with your input. I still got 3 more videos to record after this one, so I'm going to get going, but thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. And of course, thank you to all our super fans. This includes Pablo Sigma Cat, Sermonator, Georgie Badev, Deathstrider X, Arentine, Hammertoad45, Connor the Gamer, Poland Country Ball, Nevada Garbage Trucks, and DW Cool Dude. Once again, thank you guys.